You wake up, light slipping through the crack in the window. The world is still quiet, but your mind is already racing. Tasks, worries, notifications. In that fragile and decisive instant, you choose whether to move on autopilot or take the helm of your own existence. Morning is a sacred ritual that almost everyone desecrates with haste. How many times have you opened your eyes and before even getting out of bed already felt defeated? We wake up full of obligations, yet empty of direction. We leap out of bed like someone fleeing a fire, when in truth we should rise like a warrior preparing for the battlefield. Stoic philosophy does not ask you to become an isolated monk or a martyr of routine. It invites you to a quiet act of rebellion, to begin the day from within, to be your own point of origin, to turn each morning into a moment of foundation. Marcus Aurelius wrote before sunrise. Epictetus taught that waking up is the moment of choice. Either you live up to your principles, or you drift like a boat without an anchor. This video is a map, but not the ready-made kind you get from GPS. It is an inner map, built from symbols, metaphors, deep questions, and real practices. A guide to awaken not only the body, but the soul, so that each morning stops being repetition and becomes rebirth. Before we begin, I want you to write in the comments the sentence that will be your personal pact. Today I wake with intention, not inertia. This simple statement is the first brick of your fortress, because when you declare something, you plant it, and what is planted with awareness grows into strength. Now take a deep breath, close your eyes for a moment. Together, let us learn how to begin the day like a Stoic. Let's begin. Number 1, wake up as if you were late for yourself. Most people wake up as if they've stumbled into a day they never asked for. Light enters through the window. The alarm rings with its repetitive violence, and the first gesture is almost always the same. Turning off awareness along with the alarm, reaching for the phone, endless scrolling, images we didn't ask for, ideas we didn't choose, demands that shouldn't even exist yet. It's as if, instead of waking up, we're merely switching nightmares, from the unconscious to the conscious, from the bed to chaos. And the most tragic part is that we call this routine. The Stoic does not wake this way. The Stoic wakes as someone returning from a mission, as someone who knows that the simple fact of being alive is already a miracle with an undefined expiration date. He doesn't jump out of bed in panic, nor does he stay there consumed by guilt. He rises with reverence, not out of habit, but out of choice. Because for him, the first victory of the day happens in the invisible realm, the decision not to abandon himself the moment he opens his eyes. It is in this narrow space between sleep and day that a silent battle is fought. And this is where many lose. Because in that brief slice of time, the world hasn't called you yet. The messages haven't arrived. The voices are still quiet. There is only you. And precisely for that reason, this moment is sacred. But what do? We ignore it. We trade the chance for an inner reunion for 15 more minutes of escape. We hit snooze, not on the alarm, but on the soul. And then we spend the rest of the day chasing ourselves, without understanding why time never seems to be enough. Marcus Aurelius wrote at dawn, "He who ruled an empire chose to begin his day not with commands, but with questions. Before responding to the world, he responded to himself. He reflected on impermanence, on conduct, on honor, because he understood that the way a day begins defines the axis around which everything else will turn. If you start the day reacting, you will live reacting. But if you start by choosing, you will live with intention." And here lies the heart of this lesson. Waking up early is not a productivity hack. It is an act of sovereignty. It's not about getting up in a rush, but about getting up with posture. Like a king opening the gates of his own castle, like a soldier who awakens already prepared to face the inner battlefield. You are not waking up just to face a day. You are waking up to yourself. When you wake up late or without intention, it's not just the clock that falls behind. It's the spirit. The body may be standing, but the mind is still lying down, and you feel it. The lack of center, the confusion without a clear cause, the fatigue that goes beyond the physical. Something feels out of tune, and it is, because you disconnected from the one moment when you could truly meet yourself, the beginning. Imagine for a moment if the first hours of your day were treated as a rite of passage, not an obligation, but a threshold, a silence where you could clear the noise that slept beside you, where every gesture, washing your face, making coffee, opening the window, was not mechanical but symbolic, as if you were washing away fear, nourishing presence, making room for light. This is the Stoic proposal, not to live according to what comes from outside, but to strengthen what comes from within. And there is no better moment for that than the morning, because while the world is still asleep, truth speaks more softly, but more clearly. And if you are present, you can hear it. The Stoic awakening, therefore, is a political gesture. It is a refusal of the invitation to morning distraction. It is saying no to other people's urgency before saying yes to your own direction. It is turning the morning into a temple and discipline into a form of devotion. Because waking up early with purpose is a daily reminder that your life will not be built by accidents. It will be built by choices. And if you want to know where to begin, the answer is simple. Begin with yourself, before the world, before the feed, before fear. Wake up as someone who is rediscovering himself, as someone who is already late for his own greatness. Number 2, silence the world before it swallows you. The day hasn't even begun, yet it no longer belongs to you. The moment you open your eyes, it rushes to take over. Sounds, lights, vibrations, calls, demands that aren't spoken in words, but invade like an impatient wind through the cracks of the mind. You didn't get up. You were pulled up, and this is how many people live, waking up already belonging to the world, already occupied, already overwhelmed, already defeated. The first breath of the morning should be the most intimate one, a return to the body, to the present, to your own existence. But what usually happens is this. Before awareness has fully settled, your hand is already reaching for the phone, and with it comes everything. Comparisons, notifications, worries. It's as if a storm of noise sweeps through your soul before you've even had the chance to recognize your own silence. Waking up this way is like jumping into an abyss and trying to put on a parachute mid-fall. But what if there were another way? What if morning were a temple? What if, instead of surrendering to the noise, you chose to withdraw into silence? The Stoic understands something the modern world has forgotten. The value of silence is not in what it removes, but in what it allows to emerge. In an age where everyone has something to say, silence is a scandal, but it is also the only doorway to true presence. That is why, for the Stoic, the morning does not begin with reaction. It begins with reverence. Life is not a notification. It is a presence that only reveals itself when noise is suspended. And this demands courage, because for many, silence is unbearable. In it, everything that has been ignored rises to the surface, unanswered questions, unfilled voids, nameless fears. That is why so many people run toward distraction first thing in the morning, not for pleasure, but for escape. Scrolling the feed, replying to messages, consuming information the moment you wake up. None of this is more than anesthesia, a mild, socially accepted numbing agent designed to avoid the most difficult encounter of all, the encounter with oneself. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, did not write for an audience. He wrote for himself. Like a monk in prayer, he sought to remember what mattered before being swallowed by the duties of an emperor. He knew that without this anchor, power would deform him, and if even an emperor needed silence to preserve his sanity, imagine you, surrounded by algorithms, expectations, and invisible noise. Morning silence for the Stoic is not absence. It is presence without distraction. It is the moment when the posture you will carry through the day is defined. In it, the mind stops being a battlefield and becomes a temple once again. You do not sit in silence to escape the world, but to face it with clarity. There is no need for grand rituals. The simple act of breathing with awareness, of observing thoughts without judging them, is already an act of resistance. This silence must come before everything, before goals, before training, before coffee, because it is the foundation on which everything else stands. A mind that begins the day at peace is harder to shake. But a mind that wakes up already accelerated enters the world like an over-tightened rope. The slightest friction is enough to make it snap. And here comes a simple yet powerful practice. The first 20 minutes of your day should belong to you. Only you. A non-negotiable territory. No social media, no emails, no conversations. Just you, your breath, your body, perhaps a notebook, perhaps the sky outside the window. If you want to go further, write 3 sentences: what you are feeling, what you desire, and what you choose to be today. There is no need to share this with anyone. Silence does not require an audience. Epictetus said, "Freedom lies in knowing how to distinguish what depends on you from what does not." Silence is the space where that distinction reveals itself. It is there that you notice how many thoughts visit you uninvited, how many emotions are not yours, but inherited from the world. And once you see this, you begin to choose what to keep, what to release, what truly deserves space within you. But be warned, the world does not want you to do this, because a mind that begins the day in silence is difficult to manipulate. It does not panic at every headline. It does not bow to every opinion. It chooses its focus and remains there. And the modern world, which survives by selling attention, does not profit from people like that. That is why silencing yourself upon waking is a political, spiritual, and existential act. It is as if you were saying without words, "I am the guardian of my temple. Before anyone enters, I must put the house in order." This is not about rejecting the world, but about welcoming yourself first, because only those who welcome themselves deeply can later offer true presence to others. Those who begin the day listening to themselves learn to listen to others. Those who begin the day centered learn to act with firmness. Those who begin the day in silence learn to respond, not react. And if you think 20 minutes make no difference, consider what you've been doing with your time since you wake up. How many times have you been lost in endless scrolling, news that made you more anxious, messages that could have waited? What would happen if instead you dedicated that time to your own foundation? The Stoic knows this. The world is far too loud for the soul to survive without a refuge. And that refuge must be built every single day, early in the morning, before the world starts shouting, before life runs you over. Silence the world before it swallows you. And in that silence, discover that there is still within you an untouched space, a still point, a center that no one can take from you. That is where you must begin. Number 3, clothe yourself with purpose before leaving home. Most people choose what they will wear, but they do not choose the spirit with which they will live. They decide on the shirt, the shoes, the fragrance, but they leave home naked of intention. And so they walk through the day exposed, vulnerable, reactive, carried by other people's moods, affected by every word, discouraged by every setback. They forget that how they prepare themselves internally matters more than any external armor. The Stoic begins the day dressing from the inside out. He wakes up and asks himself, "What am I living for today?" This is not a distant philosophical question, nor a self-help exercise. It is a shield, an axis, a reminder that each morning is a summons, and that one should not step into life without remembering why one is there. Epictetus said, "Philosophy should be like a drawn sword, always at hand, always present." That is why the Stoics wrote early in the morning. They were preparing themselves for invisible challenges, for human contradictions, for their own impulses. Marcus Aurelius was not only an emperor, he was a man at war with himself. And he knew that this battle begins before the first external conflict. For the Stoic, daily life is a constant proving ground. To leave home without intention is to enter battle unarmed. All it takes is a cruel comment, an unexpected event, an injustice, and you are already falling. But when you begin the day remembering who you are, what you stand for, what you tolerate and what you refuse to tolerate, then, only then, are you truly dressed. Then yes, you are ready. To dress yourself with purpose means waking up and anchoring yourself to something greater than mere impulse. It means choosing your values before choosing your goals. What gives you strength today is not what you want to achieve, but what you have decided you will no longer lose: peace, dignity, focus, your word. These are the inner garments of those who live with a soul. How many times have you started the day without clarity, only to be shaped by everything you encountered? Other people's energy invaded you, other people's demands took over, and by the end of the day, you could barely say where you yourself had gone. That is not living. It is surviving by contagion. The antidote is to wake up with position. Before getting out of bed, sit on the edge and breathe. Ask yourself, what is my silent mission today? Maybe it is to remain calm in the face of provocation. Maybe it is to act with excellence even without recognition. Maybe it is to be kinder to yourself. Choose a single verb, a single principle, and carry it with you like an invisible cloak throughout the day. Every time chaos threatens, remember, you chose to live with purpose, and that choice is your protection. There is no Stoicism without direction, because Stoic philosophy is not comfort in the face of life, it is commitment to it. It is the decision not to be a hostage to chance, and this decision must be renewed every morning like lighting a lamp before sunrise. Because the world is dark for those who leave without an inner light, you must be the torch that illuminates your own path before the darkness swallows you. Here is a simple and powerful practice. Have a code, a word, a phrase, a gesture that you repeat every morning. Something that reminds you of what truly matters. Something that works as symbolic armor. It doesn't need to be grand, it only needs to be true. It could be discipline before desire. It could be respond, don't react. It could be I am my own master. What matters is that by repeating it, you awaken something within yourself that the world cannot give you. Because the world offers everything except direction. It gives access, information, speed, comparison, but not purpose. Purpose is not found outside. Purpose is shaped every day through small internal choices, and those choices dress you in courage, even on difficult days. Dressing yourself with purpose is what separates those who wander from those who walk, those who stumble from those who advance, those who merely exist from those who truly build. Dress yourself from the inside before the world strips you bare. Number 4, move the body to remember that you are alive. We live so trapped in the mind that we forget the body. We wake up with stiff muscles, tense shoulders, shallow breathing, and call this normal, as if the body were merely a support system for the mind, a silent vehicle carrying our thoughts, ambitions, and inner conflicts. But the body is not just transport. The body is a temple. It is language. It is memory. And it stores much of what you try to forget. The Stoic understands that body and mind are not separate. They are in constant dialogue. When you walk hunched over, when you breathe as if you are shrinking, your brain receives the message that something is wrong. When you move with energy, when you breathe deeply, it receives a different message. We are alive, we are awake, we are here, and that changes everything. This is not about exercise for appearance or physical performance. It is about presence, about remembering early in the day that you have a body and that it is your first territory of power. Before trying to control the day, control your gestures. Before confronting others, align your own posture. Before demanding firmness from the world, find firmness in your own steps. The Stoic rises and moves not to conquer the world, but to inhabit himself. He walks with intention, breathes with attention, stretches his arms, wakes his legs, rolls his shoulders as if reclaiming the space he lost during the night. The body, after hours of stillness, needs movement to remember that it is whole, and you, after hours of vulnerability, need movement to remember that you are in command. This morning practice is almost invisible. It may be a simple sequence of movements, a stretch, a short walk, a quiet dance in the room while the world still sleeps. The form does not matter. The spirit does. The reconnection does. Because when you move with awareness, you send a clear message to the mind. We are ready for the day, not to survive, but to live with strength. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the nature of things, and for him, the body was part of that nature, an instrument to be respected, cared for, but never idolized. He wrote, "You are a soul carrying a corpse." It sounds harsh, but it is a call to awareness. Your body is temporary, but while it is here, it is through it that you appear in the world, and therefore it must not be neglected. How many times have you begun the day with a restless mind and an absent body? How many times have you tried to solve everything with thought without realizing the answer was in movement? Stoicism teaches that thinking is not enough. You must act. And action begins with the gesture, how you stand up, how you prepare yourself, how you walk. These simple movements are, in truth, existential micro-decisions. They say, I was not dragged into this day, I chose to enter it. There is something deeply symbolic in moving your body in the morning. It is as if you are saying to the world and to yourself, I am still here. Amid exhaustion, routine, conflict, anxiety, I am still here, breathing, standing, walking. And often, that alone is an act of courage. When the mind wants to give up, the body can remind you that there is still strength, still ground beneath your feet, still a path ahead. Create a small movement ritual, something you can repeat every day, not as obligation, but as an anchor. It may be stretching, conscious breathing, a short walk in the morning light. Do it with presence, do it with soul. And as you move, ask yourself, what am I carrying in my body that my mind has forgotten to process? The body does not lie, it stores. And movement allows it to speak. Sometimes you don't need to resolve everything with words. Sometimes it's enough to breathe deeply, stretch your arms, feel your feet on the ground. A steady walk can dissolve a doubt. An upright spine can calm a fear. The natural rhythm of breath can open space for a new idea. The Stoic does not separate body and mind, he aligns them. And because of this, while others wake up dragging themselves through the morning, he wakes up affirming his presence. While others live as if numbed, he lives as someone who awakens with every step. Begin the day with movement, not to escape yourself, but to return to yourself. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is to remember with every muscle and every gesture that you are alive. And more than that, that you are willing to live fully. Move the body, and the soul will follow. Number 5, nourish yourself as someone who honors their own existence. In an age of constant rush, eating has become mere refueling, an automatic, mechanical, often anxious act. Food is no longer celebrated. It is swallowed between notifications and obligations. And then you wonder why you feel tired, scattered, absent, when in truth, the body is simply responding to how it has been treated. Stoicism reminds us that the way we eat reveals a great deal about how we see life. The Stoic does not eat out of impulse or vanity. He eats as someone who honors the instrument that carries his soul. For him, the body is not an object to display, nor a machine to be pushed beyond limits. It is a sacred temple. And food is, above all, a symbol of connection to nature, to discipline, to gratitude for being alive. That is why, at the start of the day, he does not devour, he acknowledges. Seneca warns us that what ruins us is not what enters the mouth, but excess, carelessness, and servitude to pleasure. And if we look closely, this is exactly what we see today. People consuming not out of need, but out of compulsion. And not only food, but distraction, stimulation, escape. Eating, in this context, becomes yet another way not to feel, not to think, to postpone facing what truly matters. But when you wake up and choose to eat with awareness, something shifts. A banal act becomes ritual. Coffee stops being just a stimulant and turns into a moment of pause. Breadfruit tea, everything takes on deeper meaning. The meaning of being present, of beginning the day remembering that before anything else, you are matter, and the way you care for that matter shapes the clarity of your spirit. This is not about diet. It is not about rule. It is about attention. It is about turning the act of eating into an affirmation of dignity. After all, if you don't have time to eat calmly, what else in your life are you failing to experience with presence? The Stoic knows this. Whatever is done in haste loses value. Whatever is done with reverence gains depth. Imagine starting your day with a small ritual, preparing your own food slowly, noticing the aromas, observing the colors, chewing deliberately. It doesn't need to be elaborate. It needs to be whole. And while you eat, do not read, do not check your phone, do not rush. Just eat. Allow yourself to be fully there as someone celebrating the miracle of being alive once again. This simple yet powerful practice has a profound impact, because how you eat in the morning influences not only your body, but your mind, your emotions, your disposition. When you eat with guilt or distraction, the day begins off balance. When you eat in a rush, the mind remains restless. But when you eat with presence, the rest of the day aligns more easily. There is ancient wisdom that reminds us, eat your food as if it was sacred, because it is. Every grain, every drop, every piece carries the story of earth, water, and time. And when you consume with respect, you align yourself with these invisible forces. You enter the rhythm of nature. You stop being merely a consumer and become part of a sacred cycle. Stoicism, above all, is an invitation to awareness, and that includes what we place on our plate. Not to cultivate guilt, but responsibility. Because everything you put into your body also feeds your thoughts, your energy, your actions in the world. Consider this. What would your life look like if you treated eating as a moment of reconnection? How many excesses would disappear? How many unnecessary pains would be avoided? How many poor decisions would never be made in states of disguised emptiness? The Stoic begins the day remembering that food is not a refuge, it is reinforcement. He does not eat to forget himself, but to remember himself, because the way you nourish yourself reveals the way you see yourself. And if you do not honor your own body, why should the world honor your words? Eat as someone who cares. Eat as someone preparing to serve something greater. Eat as someone who knows that simplicity can be sacred when lived with truth. Tomorrow morning, before the first food of the day, pause, breathe, observe, give thanks, and only then eat. You will not be nourishing only your body. You will be telling yourself, I am here. I am ready to live fully. Number 6, write as someone who records their own rebirth. Every day, thousands of thoughts cross the mind like fleeting shadows. Some are memories, others are worries, others are just noise from the unconscious, unnoticed, yet shaping your mood, your decisions, your silences. And the most unsettling part is that even without your awareness, these thoughts decide much of who you will be on the day that is beginning. The Stoic does not allow himself to be dragged by this invisible current. He does not wake up and surrender to an ungoverned mental flow. He observes, and more than that, he writes, because writing is like looking into the mirror of the soul and seeing clearly what the turbulence of the mind distorts. Writing is the most intimate act of presence there is. It is where the mind bows to listen to itself. Marcus Aurelius understood this. His meditations were not written for the world. They were written for silence, for himself, to remember, day after day, what truly mattered. Amid power, vanity, and the chaos of empire, writing gave him a place where he could simply be human, imperfect, thinking, vulnerable, attentive. When he wrote, he created a space where he was not required to appear strong. He only had to be honest with himself. And this is what you need to do every morning. Create that space, even 5 minutes, a notebook, a pen. No intention to sound wise, correct, or profound. Only truth, only traces of your soul on paper. You can begin like this: today I feel, and let the sentence continue on its own. Write without restraint. Write even if you think you have nothing to say. What matters is the act, because writing is not about producing something useful. It is about preventing dust from accumulating inside you. Morning writing is a cleansing of the soul. It is where you unload the weight of the mind, where you give form to causes, where you organize emotions that, if ignored, turn into self-sabotage. Have you noticed how certain words lose their power to frighten you once they are written? How some fears shrink when they are named? That is because writing brings the unspeakable into the light, and what is brought into the light stops being shadow. But be careful, this is not about writing what you think you should feel. It is the opposite. Write what is truly there. Write about anger, doubt, exhaustion. Write about the beauty of a strange dream, about longing for something you never had, about the desire to disappear, about joy without reason. Do not judge, do not edit, just write. The paper does not need to understand, it only needs to receive. Little by little, day after day, this practice becomes something greater. You begin to notice patterns. You start to see what repeats, what moves you, what blocks you. You begin to know yourself, and this self-knowledge is not a luxury, it is a necessity, because those who do not know themselves live as hostages to their own minds, and those who write little by little stop being hostages. The Stoic writes not out of vanity, but vigilance. He knows the mind needs cleaning, thought needs filtering, and the soul needs a witness. Writing is being that witness to oneself. Some say they don't have time for this. What they are really saying is, I have not made myself a priority, because time exists. What is missing is presence. What is missing is the recognition that 5 minutes of writing can change an entire day. It can prevent an emotional outburst. It can bring clarity to a decision. It can stop a regret before it happens. And there is another secret. When you write in the morning, what you write stays with you, not as a burden, but as a reminder. You carry that clarity, that intention, that sentence that surfaced while the mind was still raw, and that sentence can become the rudder amid the chaos of the hours that follow. So start small, a paragraph, a line, a gesture. Soon you will see that this small ritual has the power to reconnect you with something no distraction in the world can offer, your own essence. Writing in the morning is an act of rebirth. It is sitting before the page and declaring, today I choose to remember who I am before the world tries to convince me otherwise. Number 7, cultivate a firm thought before the day bends you. The mind is like the sky at dawn, still dark, still quiet, yet already full of possibility. And like the sky, it can change in minutes. Calm in one moment, stormy in the next. Those who wake up without direction leave that sky open to any wind. Any message, any look, any demand can be enough to cloud it, stir it, set it ablaze. And then the entire day is lived in reaction to what happens, not in alignment with what was chosen. The Stoic knows he cannot control the weather of the world, but he can establish an inner ground where not even the worst day can create a storm. And that ground is built with thought, not just any thought, but one that is anchoring, rooted, firm enough to sustain action amid chaos. That is why, before opening the doors to the world, the Stoic plants a single idea within himself, one solid idea. A phrase that serves as north, a principle he can carry in the pocket of his soul, and when everything starts to unravel, touch like a talisman. This is not superstition, it is preparation. Marcus Aurelius did this every day. Today I will meet ungrateful, aggressive, selfish people, he wrote. This was not pessimism, it was clarity. It was the understanding that the world does not revolve around personal expectations. It was emotional preparation from someone who knew peace does not depend on the outside, but on inner structure. By anticipating chaos, He did not surrender to it. He strengthened himself to face it. Here is the practice. When you wake up, choose an idea to live by, not to admire, but to apply. Something that reminds you of what truly matters. Something that, even if everything goes wrong, can still be upheld. It might be, "These are not my emotions," or "What is essential is quieter than it seems," or "Today I choose to act with dignity, even if no one notices." The phrase must be yours, and it must be repeated, like sharpening a blade that will be used later, because the day will try to bend you. Someone will delay you, interrupt you, demand from you, hurt you even unintentionally. And when that happens, the question is this: will you react with whatever arises in the moment, or will you respond with what you chose at dawn? Stoicism does not call us to be insensitive, but conscious. It does not ask you to become stone, but to know where your rock stands. A mind grounded in principles is less prone to explosions. It sees the facts, recognizes emotions, and still chooses its response. And that choice, when rooted in a firm thought, has the power to transform any situation. Think now, how many days have you begun already feeling lost, overwhelmed, pressured, and how many of those days were dominated by impulses you barely understood, words spoken without thought, decisions made from fear, actions that later turned into regret? All of this begins at the root, at the absence of mental firmness in the morning. When you cultivate a firm thought at dawn, you are telling the world, "I did not come to be molded by you. I came to walk with clarity." Even if you stumble, even if you lose your rhythm, that clarity remains, like the outline of a road that persists even under heavy rain. More than that, this silent practice, repeated day after day, shapes character. Slowly, you become someone who no longer bends easily. Someone who does not swing endlessly between euphoria and despair. Someone who begins the day from within, not from without. Someone who does not need external approval to do what is right. The world applauds those who succeed. The Stoic respects those who remain whole, even when everything demands that they stray, and that integrity begins with a clear idea, a repeated conviction, a conscious decision made in the morning, tomorrow, before the news, before the rush, before any distraction. Pause, close your eyes and decide what will sustain your spirit today. It doesn't need to be loud, it doesn't need to be new, it only needs to be yours and firm. Because the world will not make things easier for you, but you can make yourself stronger. Number 8, care for something outside of yourself. This is how you remember that the world does not revolve around you. There is a subtle illusion many people carry without realizing it. The belief that their pain, desires, fears, and achievements are the center of everything. The ego slowly expands, and the world begins to shrink. Everything becomes personal. Everything is interpreted through what hurts, what is missing, what feels threatening. And from this distorted lens arise excess worry, vanity, self-pity, and constant tension. The Stoic breaks this illusion every morning. He understands that clarity does not come only from self-knowledge, but from moving the ego out of the center. Caring for the soul is essential, but looking outward with intention, responsibility, and compassion is just as transformative. That is why, early in the day, he does something that is not about himself. It can be small, but it must be deliberate. Water a plant, clean the space you live in, feed an animal, send a thoughtful message, help someone quietly without being seen. These actions plant the seed of a larger awareness. When you care for what is outside of you, something aligns within you. You step out of the spotlight and recognize yourself as part of the scene, and that calms the mind. It clears perception. It opens paths that obsession with the self only blocks. Epictetus taught that we should live in accordance with nature. And living in accordance with nature means recognizing that you are not the sole center of existence. There is a world around you, breathing, suffering, moving, with or without your permission. Paradoxically, when you accept your smallness, you begin to experience a deeper sense of presence. Caring for others, for the environment, for something that does not mirror your desires, dissolves the subtle narcissism that makes us sick. Anxiety often comes from excessive self-reference. Fear is tied to the obsession with control. Anguish grows from the belief that everything must pass through you. When you serve something beyond yourself, this cycle breaks. But do not misunderstand, this is not self-neglect. The Stoic does not erase himself, he expands his position. He remembers that life is not a battle of egos, but a shared field where everyone struggles in their own way to survive with dignity. By acting beyond himself in the morning, he plants a practical humility, not theoretical, but lived. A humility that moves, cleans, and gives. And this has a quiet yet powerful effect. You begin to feel part of something. True belonging is not bought with approval. It is born from silent contribution, from doing good without expectation. No inflated ego survives the simple act of sweeping the floor with attention, washing a dish with gratitude, caring for a being that asks for nothing in return. Think about your mornings. How often do you begin the day trapped inside your own thoughts, your problems, your desires, your urgency? Now imagine starting the day by also looking outward, by including the world in your ritual. Prepare an extra cup of coffee for someone, leave a kind note. Open the window and silently thank the day. Pick something up from the street that no one bothered to move. Offer real presence, even for a few seconds. These gestures shift the axis of consciousness, and that shift, when intentional, is liberating. When the self stops being the center, suffering loses intensity. You realize not everything is personal. Life is not conspiring against you. Difficulty is not proof of your unworthiness. It is part of the shared human condition. The Stoic wakes up asking, "What can I offer today before I demand anything?" That question changes everything. It turns the day from a field of expectations into a space of contribution. It frees the mind from the prison of its own reflection. Tomorrow, before diving into your plans and conflicts, look around. Is there something or someone that can be cared for with intention? Do it not to prove anything, but to remember that you are alive, and that living includes stepping outside yourself. When you do, feel it. Feel the silence that comes when the ego quiets. Feel the lightness of no longer being the center. Feel the wisdom that appears when you step out of the role of protagonist, even briefly. Caring for something beyond yourself is a reminder. You are part of the whole, not the whole itself. And that does not diminish you. It frees you. Number 9, choose your first meaningful action before the day distracts you. Between waking up and being pulled into routine, there is a brief, invisible moment, a space where choice still exists. This moment determines who is in command, awareness or inertia, intention or impulse. The Stoic does not rush to do more. He chooses to begin with meaning. The practice is simple. Decide what your first act of value will be, not a productive task. Not a functional obligation, but an action that carries principle. Even if no one sees it, even if it feels insignificant, that action becomes the foundation of the day. The world offers countless early distractions, messages, news, demands. Most of them occupy you but do not nourish you. The first action sets the tone. If you begin with intention, intention tends to spread. If you begin scattered, distraction defines the day. Marcus Aurelius said, "Think like a man of action, act like a man of thought." The first action of the morning is where thought and action must meet. Reflection without practice is empty. Virtue without movement remains theory. Your first action could be 1 minute of stillness. Standing barefoot, eyes closed, feeling the ground. It may look useless, but to the Stoic, it is an act of return, a reminder that body and mind awaken together. Or it could be writing a single line. Today, I choose calm, even if the world loses it. The size does not matter. Direction does. Whoever does not begin their own narrative becomes a supporting character in someone else's story. The Stoic protects beginnings. He knows the early hours are fertile soil. He does not plant emotional noise there. He plants intention. Avoid this trap, starting the day by reacting. Reactive actions are not yours. They belong to fear, urgency, anxiety, checking notifications compulsively, complaining immediately, responding without presence. That is survival mode, not creation. The Stoic wants to create his day, light a candle, play grounding music, make the bed with attention, water a plant with care. Whatever you choose, let it say, I am here and I choose to begin with meaning. This small gesture is a declaration. You are not drifting, you are awake. A day that begins with dignity is harder to lose. Even if you stumble later, you have a place to return to, an inner compass. No matter how demanding the world is, the first action is sovereign territory. That is where philosophy becomes flesh, where Stoicism stops being an idea and becomes lived practice. Tomorrow morning, before words, before tasks, before expectations, choose. Choose the gesture that marks your beginning. Start with value, and value will walk with you. Number 10. Review your battles before entering the field. Many wake up already exhausted, as if late for a war they never chose. Few stop to ask, which battles truly deserve my energy today? The Stoic does not wake up and dive into chaos. He studies the terrain. Marcus Aurelius warned himself, you are pulled in many directions. Choose what deserves your soul. Not everything does. Today, the world offers endless emotional wars, online arguments, unfair criticism, the need to justify yourself, conflicts that drain but do not transform. Most are not your battles, but habit, pride, and conditioning make you fight them anyway. Reviewing your battles in the morning is an act of freedom. Strength is not fighting everything. It is knowing what is worth fighting for. Ask yourself, what conflicts are likely today? Are they necessary? If yes, enter with courage. If not, release them firmly. There is no wisdom in fighting what only consumes you. Silence can be sharper than words. Not entering a war can be the greatest victory. This is not weakness, it is strategy. Those who fight too much eventually fight empty. Exhaustion often comes not from doing too much, but from fighting poorly chosen battles. Your peace is worth more than being right. Tomorrow, before the armor goes on, choose the battlefield. You may realize much of your burden comes from wars that no longer matter, and by letting them go, you regain focus, direction, and strength. Number 11. Remember, you can restart, even mid-morning. The day may already be messy. You may have lost patience, forgotten your intention, reacted instead of chosen, and you might think, I've already ruined today. But the Stoic knows this truth. Nothing is lost while awareness remains. Marcus Aurelius wrote that life is not judged by length, but by how it is lived, moment by moment. You can begin again right now. Stoicism does not demand perfection. It demands realignment. You don't punish yourself for drifting, you gently return. Stop for a minute. Breathe. Remember who you chose to be today. That moment of return is powerful. Most people abandon themselves after the first mistake. The Stoic does not. Strength is not rigidity. It is the ability to return again and again. If your morning failed, do not discard it. It can still be sacred. There is no wrong moment to come back to yourself. The present is the only place change is possible, and choosing to return quietly, firmly, can change the tone of the entire day. That is real freedom. I sincerely hope this message was useful. If you made it to the end, that says something important about you. You want to grow. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment. If you don't know what to say, comment gratitude, so I know you watched until the end. If you're not subscribed yet, now is the time. Join us. Stoicism holds many lessons that can be applied to daily life, and there is much more to explore. 2 more videos are on screen now. Continue the journey. Until next time.